All right, we're going to look at chapter 15 from the book of Job. Then answered Eliphaz the Temanite and said, Should a wise man utter vain knowledge and fill his belly with the east wind? Should he reason with unprofitable talk, or with speeches wherewith he can do no good? Verse 4, Yea, thou castest off fear, and restrainest prayer before God. Eliphaz is saying that Job is not demonstrating the appropriate fear of God and is arguing rather than praying as he should. Verse 5, For thy mouth uttereth thine iniquity, and thou choosest the tongue of the crafty. 6, Thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I, yea, thine own lips testify against thee. 7, Art thou the first man that was born, or wast thou made before the hills? I thought this was really interesting. I looked up an interpretation of this expression, and I thought the Cambridge Bible for Schools and Colleges commentary was pretty good, so I'm going to read it. Art thou the first man? Wast thou born a man first? The first man that came from God's hand would naturally be endowed with preeminent wisdom and other attributes. Schlotman quotes an ironical proverb current in India. Yes, he is the first man. No wonder that he is so wise. The second clause of the verse, however, as well as Job 15:8, seems to express the conception of a being formed before the earth, either the wisdom of Proverbs 8:22 or a being similar, especially Proverbs 8:25, and the query of Eliphaz is, Art thou the very wisdom of God? Or art thou such a being as the wisdom of God? But coming back to Job's assumption of superior wisdom, Eliphaz must ask on what it rests. So I thought that was interesting. I'll read that line again. Art thou the first man that was born, or wast thou made before the hills? It's a good one. I might use that. Hast thou heard the secret of God, and dost thou restrain wisdom to thyself? So, you're privy to the secret counsel of God. Verse 9, What knowest thou that we know not? What understandest thou which is not in us? With us are both the gray-headed and very aged men, much elder than thy father. Verse 11, Are the consolations of God small with thee? Is there any secret thing with thee? So I think, a lot of the stuff is intuitive, but I think some of them need to be elaborated, and this is one that I took the time to look up. So from the pulpit commentary, are the consolations of God small with thee? By the consolations of God, Eliphaz probably means the hopes which he and his friends had held out, speaking in God's name, that if Job would humble himself and confess his guilt and sue to God for pardon, he would be restored to favor, recover his prosperity, and live to a good old age in tranquil happiness. He wishes to know if Job thinks lightly of all this, regards it as of small account, will make no effort to obtain the blessings held out to him. This is all reasonable enough from his standpoint that Job is conscious of secret heinous guilt, but it can make no impression on Job, who is conscious of the reverse. Is there any secret thing with thee? Rather, and is the word of small account that dealeth gently with thee. Eliphaz considers that his own words and those of his two companions have been soft words, dealing gently with Job's refractoriness, and that Job ought to have been impressed by them. Verse 12, Why doth thine heart carry thee away? And what do the eyes wink at? I was curious about this this winking line. Commentators seem to agree that the eye winking is a sign of pride, though Matthew Poole puts it in a different and interesting way. A quote from this commentary, Why dost thou suffer thyself to be transported by the pride and lust of thy heart to use such unworthy and unbecoming expressions? That makes sense, right? Both concerning us and concerning God as providence. Now this part, the winking. What do thine eyes wink at? I.e., what dost thou aim at? like an archer. What benefit dost thou expect from such words and carriages? So is a metaphor from archers who wink when they take aim at a mark. Or why do thine eyes wink, i.e., why dost thou look with such an angry, supercilious, and disdainful look, expressing both thy contempt of us and thy rage against God? The eye is observed both by God and men as the great discoverer of the heart, and winking with the eye is a note of a malicious mind. So I thought it was kind of like mockery, winking, like that, but you're winking, you're taking aim. It's more malicious. I thought that was intriguing. Verse 13, that thou turnest thy spirit against God, and lettest such words go out of thy mouth. 14, what is man that he should be clean, and he which is born of a woman that he should be righteous? Behold, he putteth no trust in his saints, yea, the heavens are not clean in his sights. Just a reminder here that earlier, I think maybe in the very first one of these, we determined that saints were angels, but I'm open to other interpretations. Verse 16, how much more abominable and filthy is man which drinketh iniquity like water? I will shew thee, hear me, and that which I have seen I will declare. 18, which wise men have told from their fathers and have not hid it? Unto whom alone the earth was given, and no stranger passed among them. The wicked man travaileth with pain all his days, and the number of years is hidden to the oppressor. A dreadful sound is in his ears, and prosperity the destroyer shall come upon him. He believeth not that he shall return out of darkness, and he is waited for of the sword. He wandereth abroad for bread, saying, where is it? He knoweth that the day of darkness is ready at his hand. Trouble and anguish shall make him afraid. They shall prevail against him as a king ready to the battle. For he stretcheth out his hand against God, and strengtheneth himself against the Almighty. He runneth upon him, even on his neck, upon the thick bosses of his bucklers. Because he covereth his face with his fatness, and maketh collops of fat on his flanks. Oh, what does this mean, I thought? So from the pulpit commentary, because he covereth his face with his fatness, the ground and origin of the wicked man's audacity is his luxurious and intemperate living. In the days of his prosperity he pampered his body, freely indulging all his carnal appetites, and gave himself up to gluttony and gourmandism. This depraved his moral nature, separated between him and God, and finally produced in him the insolence and presumption described in verses 25 and 26. And maketh collops of fat on his flanks, the same idea, only very slightly varied, as so often the second member of a verse. Verse 28, and he dwelleth in desolate cities, and in houses which no man inhabiteth, which are ready to become heaps. He shall not be rich, neither shall his substance continue, neither shall he prolong the perfection thereof upon the earth. He shall not depart out of darkness, the flame shall dry up his branches, and by the breath of his mouth shall he go away. Verse 31, let not him that is deceived trust in vanity, for vanity shall be his recompense. 32, it shall be accomplished before his time, and his branch shall not be green. He shall shake off his unripe grape as the vine, and shall cast off his flower as the olive. For the congregation of hypocrites shall be desolate, and fire shall consume the tabernacles of bribery. They conceive mischief and bring forth vanity, and their belly prepareth deceit. All right, that's it.